good morning, folks. I'm glad to be back with you. I want to share with you a few memories and accounts from the state fair that just wound up this past weekend. And it was a great time had by all, to put it simply. I was up there on the opening Thursday, Friday, then all throughout the week last week. So I was in the area called Heritage Circle, just below what was called the Village of Yesteryear. And we had a tobacco barn that was vintage on the premises of the fair. We cured tobacco the way it used to be cured with wood from years gone by, and it was a great time had by all. Allow me please to follow up and give a summary of the fair and share with you some of the activities throughout that week. This fair wrapped up a very successful 2024 run with close to 1 million visitors, which is very significant. The 2024 North Carolina State Fair finished its run with a strong weekend, pushing the overall attendance to just shy of 1 million visitors. The final attendance was 998,926, the sixth largest in the fair's 156-year history. This was a great fair that was blessed with 11 beautiful days of weather, and the attendance reflected that. But seeing people enjoying themselves, laughing with family and friends, and making memories together is the true measure of success, said Agriculture Commissioner Steve Troxler. I want to thank the State Highway Patrol and Raleigh Police Department for handling the traffic throughout the fair, our law enforcement partners who are essential to ensuring a safe fair, and especially the public for their continued support. Other highlights of the 11 days included setting a new attendance record for a Tuesday when 85,738 came through the gates for Senior Day, seeing record attendance of nearly 2,400 people for the invitation-only Century Family Farm Reunion, a celebration of farms that have been in continuous family ownership for 100 years or more. A total of 254,000 meals, or 17 truckloads of food products, were donated during the Smithfield Foods Hunger Relief Day. The food collected this year will go to the Manna Food Bank in Asheville. Manna's warehouse was washed away during flooding from Hurricane Helena. The Food Bank of Central and Eastern North Carolina, the typical recipient of food items during the one-day food drive, chose to send the food collected to Manna. A strong junior livestock sale of champions, with bidders paying $213,000 for the top beef cattle, turkeys, hogs, sheep, and goats, plus the Got to Be NC winners. Celebrating 20-year anniversaries of the Tobacco Barn in Heritage Circle and the Field of Dreams exhibit near Dorton Arena. Attendance for the Got to Be NC Pavilion was up with the number of participating North Carolina food companies and the fair visitors, marking the first year for the North Carolina Steel House, featuring North Carolina distilleries serving craft cocktails. Participation by many Western North Carolina vendors and crafters, which provided them with sales opportunities during a much-needed time. Strong number of competitive entries with 24,514 entries in the general competitions and another 4,067 entries in livestock competitions. The 2025 North Carolina State Fair will be held October 16th through the 26th. So I can simply say a good time was had by all. To continue to follow up on some of the activities at the fair, I mentioned momentarily ago that there's a resident tobacco barn on the fairgrounds down near Heritage Circle, and it was moved into the fair premises from up in the Piedmont, and it is original, it's vintage, it's a log barn. The logs that assemble the frame of it are chopped with authentic mortar, and it has ovens in the bottom of it whereby wood can be stoked or pushed underneath into the barn to create heat. And green tobacco, which was harvested in Oxford, North Carolina, was trucked in there on the first Friday. The tobacco was strung on sticks and hung in the barn, and then cured throughout the week with wood. And by Thursday of the following week, the tobacco had cured out to a golden lemon color that looked absolutely beautiful. And this served as a teaching example and a reminder of yesteryear for people coming by, reliving memories of their own on farms, asking questions, and it was a wonderful experience. Let me share furthermore some of this activity. The Tobacco Barn in Heritage Circle has been a project or been part of the State Fair lineup for 20 years, and it has to do with curing tobacco the way it used to be. On that first Friday, as they were filling the barn with green tobacco, different teams competed one with another in looping the tobacco, stringing it, some people call it, and then certain teams were recognized for their ability and quickness and quality of their work. Here's how some of that goes. High fives all around as a new team completes tying a stick of tobacco in the annual tobacco stringing competition. The tobacco stringing competition draws a crowd every year. Tobacco is tied or looped onto a stick to be put in a tobacco barn for curing. This was the traditional way it was handled. Tobacco is still cured in a barn today, but it is no longer put on a stick. Eastern North Carolina people call this process looping. In the Piedmont, it is called stringing or tying. Jane Bodenmammer of Rural Hall swings the bundle over the tobacco stick as she works to fill the stick during the tobacco stringing competition. This year, the old tobacco barn in Heritage Circle will celebrate its 20th year of being used to cure tobacco during the fair, but it's impossible to know just how many seasons of tobacco have come through its short single door and how many times fires were lit to begin the curing process. But you can bet it will continue to be a functioning tobacco barn under Commissioner Steve Troxler. It was Troxler's vision for the area that saw the tobacco barn being the centerpiece of a transformed and reinvigorated Heritage Circle, much like tobacco barns had been the foundation of rural communities across the state. I looked around and saw my heritage and way of growing up disappearing all around me, and I wanted to do something to show the people what it was like. I thought curing a barn of tobacco during the state fair using the traditional ways was the perfect demonstration for Heritage Circle. Having the vision and making that vision a reality fell to Pat Short, who was a longtime friend of the commissioner through the tobacco industry and a number of tobacco research projects that he over the years overseen. I remember thinking that first year that I didn't know how we were going to fill the barn at the fair, Pat Short said. But the commissioner was never worried. He said, "Don't worry about that. You get me the tobacco and I'll get the people to fill it." And he did. Troxler put out a call to friends, and on that first Friday of the fair, people showed up and started working, and pretty soon the barn was filled. And for 19 years since, Teams of people have shown up to compete in the popular tobacco stringing contest for a chance to win a share of $1,000 in prize money offered by the John Deere Boys ice cream booth that sits at the entrance of Heritage Circle. Sandy and Ken Jones of Maple Hill were there the first year and nearly every year since. In fact, the husband and wife duo, along with son-in-law Michael Sunday, are 9-time champions of the tobacco tying competition and plan to defend the title at this year's fair. And looking back on that activity that day, I was right there watching it. They won the competition again. Sandy and Ken Jones compete each year with their son-in-law as the Maple Hill Loopers. And they are from down in Pender County on the way to Wilmington. That is their home where they come from. At the time of this writing, this article, they were 9-time champions. I think they now are 10-time champions. We were there the first year and were walking through, and we asked what was going on, Ken said. Pat asked if we knew how to tie tobacco, and if so, would we help fill the barn. We said it's been 30 years, and he said it's been for all of us. And then we spent the rest of the afternoon looping tobacco and filling the barn. During the competitions, Sandy loops the tobacco with a steady pace, while her husband and Sunday handled her bundles of 3 leaves. Ken said, each stick of tobacco is judged on the number of bundles on the stick, the evenness of leaves, and the timeliness of accomplishing entire stick of tobacco. The competition is like a homecoming of sorts, where people gather and reconnect year after year. It's been fun. Some of the people we have competed against, we have gotten to be good friends with, Ken said. Plus, it's the fair, and we love the fair. So you've got the excitement of the fair and knowing you are helping out and doing something a lot of people don't know anything about. After the contest, people stick around to tie the last of the roughly 400 sticks of tobacco it takes to fill the barn. The Joneses' 10-year-old granddaughter has caught the tobacco tying bug. Last year, she was asked to be a handler for another team that needed a third person, and later she was explaining to people from New York what they were doing. Sandy and Ken Jones of Maple Hill are pictured in the middle of Ag Commissioner Steve Troxel on the right and Michael Sunday on the left. This was a publicity photo that was released after the contest last week. The barn and the tobacco offer teachable moments, part of the reason behind the exhibit. One of the biggest lessons is that Sandy Jones and the other stringers make it look way easier than it is. From movie stars to TV personalities, we show everyone who wants to learn how to do it, Ken said. It's about meeting people and sharing a lifestyle we enjoyed growing up. And that is exactly what Troxler envisioned when he decided to cure tobacco in the barn, bringing people together and shortening the distance between the city and the country. There were a few hiccups along the way, but the tobacco barn continues to bring people together. What most people don't know is we had to redo the old barn because the first year we cured tobacco in it, the logs would catch fire and people tending the fire would have to spray it down when that happened. I have seen tobacco barns burn to the ground before, and while I like to attract attention to the state fair, burning a barn down at the fair is not the way to do it. But that was and continues to be a wonderful exhibit and outreach that occurs every year at the fair. And in review, once more, this project of having the barn and all goes back about 20 years now, and is one of the more popular exhibits at the fair. Let me conclude with this report here. Smoking among Americans hits a record low. Cigarette smoking in the United States has reached an all-time low this year, according to Gallup, which has been monitoring smoking trends for 8 decades. This is reported by the UPA. The latest survey, based on Gallup's annual consumption habits poll conducted in July 2024, shows 11% of U.S. adults said they smoked cigarettes in the past week. That matches Gallup's other lowest outcome in 2022 and comes close to the 12% smoking trend in 2023. In 1944, when Gallup first surveyed Americans about cigarettes, 41% of adults said they smoked. Smoking peaked in 1954, with 45% of respondents saying they smoked. By the late 1980s, the smoking rate had declined but was still more than 3 times what it is today. This year's survey shows 79% of Americans view cigarettes as very harmful, while 57% view e-cigarettes or vaping in the same way, the report said. Gallup also attributes the large drop in cigarette smoking to young adults who are less likely to smoke cigarettes and more likely to smoke e-cigarettes. And that is the trend now, which says 18% of adults aged 18 to 29 vape. The most recent cohort of young adults are responsible for much of the change. Today's young adults have substituted e-cigarettes for tobacco cigarettes, as roughly 3 times as many young adults vape as smoke cigarettes. So that's just one trend that we are seeing as society changes. My time has run out. Thank you for letting me come in and be with you. I look forward to being with you next week. Have a good week and God bless.